If you're a vibe coder, this interview is a goldmine. You are going to get 100 times better at vibe coding. I'm here with Dom McFadden, who is one of the best vibe coders that I have seen or spoken with. There are at least 10 really underrated prompting tips and just workflow tips when vibe coding that if you implement, your apps are going to be so much more reliable. You're going to be able to get so much more done with vibe coding in a short amount of time. Let's jump into it.
This video is sponsored by Memex.
What we're going to do is build something from scratch, and then later in the video, we'll show you like if you kept going, like what's possible. And we're going to use Memex for this. And maybe also as you're building, Dom, if you want to talk about some of the features of Memex and like why you choose to build in Memex versus other tools would be great as well. And but yeah, you feel free to take over and start building and kind of talk through your process.
Okay, yeah. So I think we decided we would probably build a basic CRM. And obviously, the first thing that we're looking at here is what's our initial prompt. I personally like to start with Claude just because Claude does a really good job at interpreting or reinterpreting what exactly it is that you want. So, what do you think our CRM should be focused around? What industry do you think it should benefit?
What if we built a CRM for salespeople to like keep track of their leads, as an example, um, like cold callers?
Okay. Create a vibe coding prompt so that we can create a CRM that is focused around managing and tracking cold call leads.
Okay, and while it's doing that, I feel like there's some hack that you just did to share. So what was that tool that you used to like just
Oh man,
get
this
it
is
into the
that's
system?
one. This is the best tool. It is called
Is it Whisperflow?
no, it's not
Oh,
Whisperflow.
there's a
It's called
different one.
Voice Inc. Voice
Let me think. Okay. Cool.
legit, very legit. Uh yeah, I can't speak highly enough on Voice Inc. For sure.
And it's just basically you just press a hotkey on your keyboard and speak, and then it just transcribes it quickly.
Yeah, and what's nice about Voice Inc. is you buy it for life. So you pay
Uh,
one time and then every update, and there's updates like every day, but let's see if I can just do that real quick.
oh, that's awesome, and it uses local AI models.
Yep.
That's amazing.
Local AI models, and then you can set up all these different things. So like depending on you can set your model for like your AI transcription. It automatically like copies whatever you're typing or whatever you're saying onto your clipboard, so you can paste that into anywhere. And you've got what is it? Where is it? Power mode. So power mode is you can set different parameters for different applications on how you speak to it. So like I have one here for Memex that removes a lot of the filler words and just gets like right to the point when you're prompting.
Okay, that's amazing. I'm on this site right now, and I see it's like $19 lifetime, so I'm probably gonna buy this.
You can't lose. You can't
Yeah.
lose. And I did some significant research on them, and this one just seemed to have, and the guy's videos, the guy that creates them, I mean, he's like pumping out updates every day, it seems. Um,
That's crazy. Cool. Awesome.
so we've got this prompt here. We're just gonna roll with it, and we're gonna,
And are you in Claude, are you using like any projects for that, or you're just using the raw Claude to create that?
I'm just using the raw Claude. And the reason
Okay.
being, it's just an old habit. But when I started using Claude, projects didn't exist and ChatGPT did have projects. So I used ChatGPT for projects and I use Gemini for really long context conversations. And then for stuff like this, especially when I want to like mock up something really quickly, I will use Claude because it's 30 seconds and I've got like a
Yeah,
concept before I ever spend a credit in Memex or whatever tool I'm using.
got it. And you use Opus for these initial prompts generally?
Yeah, I mean, I sometimes I forget to switch off Opus. I will tell you that if you're using like VS Code or something in Rue and you use Opus, it can get super expensive. But we just got
Yeah. I do that in cursor sometimes, which is
Um, so yeah, we're gonna try this deal, and I think I don't, we're gonna give this a shot, and some additional information that we need to add in here. We're gonna use Neon database, use Neon MCP, and I guess that's pretty much it. And then what do you want the colors? What do you want this thing to look like? Um, styling cues would be like I don't know.
I'm gonna. Why don't we say like pastel color that would appeal to like I don't know younger user or something or like college age. I don't know. Maybe this is a Gen Z CRM.
Okay, NZ users. Okay, so I think we're good. We've got the basic goal here and what this is gonna be. We'll see how this goes.
All right.
We've got our Neon MCPs up. We've already got that connected, and we've got some other tools in here. So I think we're ready to go. And then for our settings, um, I've turned on automatic code execution, and I've turned off max terms, so it's just gonna run and see what we got. And our level of thinking, I try to keep it right here. If I
Okay.
do max, it can kind of get out of control sometimes. So just
And on the custom instructions, is there something people should know about that with Memex of
yeah.
how you set up?
Yeah, so custom instructions are super important. I just have some basic stuff like some magic syntax in here that I can type a command and it will do things like if I need to enhance the prompt, it can enhance the prompt for me when it interprets it. Um, that kind of thing. But also general just functionality, like how you want the agent to um respond. Like if there's a situation where you don't want the agent to ever change code without asking you, that would be like a custom instruction that you would put in there, or a general flow about a specific piece of your application. And then another file that gets created in the back end when you do create this project is called rules, memex/rules. And
Uh-huh.
that is the actual like rules that the agent will live and die by. So
Uh-huh.
if you want to put something very hard coded in there, like always um, create buttons like this, or always make sure that um, the way that data is saved on screen before you click submit is done like this. And that way it always sets it up the same way every time.
Got it. Got it. Okay, cool. Well, yeah, let's send it off just so it can start working here. Um, so you're saying the rules file that Memex creates, that's is there a reason you would put stuff in the custom instructions of the settings versus the rules file, or it doesn't really matter?
So the way that I understand it is the rules are something that the agent reads non-negotiable. It cannot do its job. It cannot start writing or reading any code until it reads those rules.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the custom instructions, from what I understand, are more like you can prompt those custom instructions, especially like when it comes to setting up the at commands.
Mm-hmm. I see.
But
Okay. And then when that's set up in the custom instructions with Memex, if you do the at in the chat, it'll pull that up automatically, or it just knows about it, basically.
it just knows about it, so
I
it's
see.
going to reference it. And if you type in at note, user note, or whatever,
Yep.
it's going to do this command. And here's the Memex rules thing that it references. So, like, if you wanted to update Memex rules from the chat, I guess you can do this, but kind of redundant because you can
Got it.
tell Memex to do this. Um, but yeah.
Okay, cool. And then also, so we're using Neon MCP. For anyone who's not aware, basically, Neon is it's kind of like Supabase. It's like a way to have your backend database. And then MCP. We've done some videos in the past on Memex MCP, so check out the other videos in the channel if you want to learn how to set that up. But Memex makes that super easy, and then the agent can just access it on its own.
Yeah, and I think that there's an issue with MCP here, but I think it's because I saw something today about Neon now has a um like an orphan database feature, right? Where you can
Oh, okay.
but I can't remember what the command is for that. Have you heard about that?
I did not see that yet. No.
You can basically set up a Neon database via MCP without ever having a Neon account. And then
Uh,
in order to continue to use the database, like in a production environment, then you would go into database Neon and claim that database. So like for the sake of
Interesting.
developing quickly and like getting a proof of concept out, you don't actually have to.
That's cool. Very interesting.
But I think David had posted about that or something in the Discord.
So I
Those,
guess. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
oh, please go.
I was gonna say, I guess while this is running, because it does take one thing about Memex that I've noticed is because it kind of does so much, it takes a little bit longer to get your response because it's like, as you can see, it's like setting things up, it's checking things, things like that. Um, maybe I love if you were we were talking a little bit before about like how do you manage a complex application when you're vibe coding? Because that's something that um, we'll show you in a little bit what Don has built with like a super complex CRM with so many features. And I think something that a lot of vibe coders are kind of scared about, or what developers kind of claim is that, once your app gets too complex, you're not going to be able um, to manage it. Yeah, curious to hear a little bit more about your methods there and how you manage your complex app.
Yeah, so as I mentioned in the beginning of the call, the key is that what you um what you put in is what you're going to get out. That's just as plain as I can be about it. So
Yep.
when I'm building an application, I'm not starting at Memex or whatever vibe coding tool I'm going to use. I'm starting at like the LLM level. So I'm talking to Gemini or Claude or ChatGPT, and I'm creating like a PRD, I guess, of what we're going to build. And I'm asking questions about different configurations and workflows and things like that. And I think a lot of people get discouraged from doing this because they think, well, I don't know what questions to ask because I don't know what I don't know. But I found that if you just start and keep it really basic, you can you can kind of lead yourself into those questions. Like you could ask, like you should at least know if you're going to vibe code, like what your general application is going to be, and then you could ask Gemini or whatever and say, what would be a suitable database for this, or how would you can what would the tech stack look like on something like this? Give me some different options, and it's the
Hmm.
outline in plain English what it thinks is a good idea, what's not a good idea. And once you have that general basis, then you can go and say, oh, well, I'm planning on integrating this into it, or I want to have this feature. Which of these options would be best for this feature? And boom, now you're off to the races. So I think that's the key there, just starting with an LLM. And as you start building, like this document took quite a long time to create, but I started doing it in pieces. And so this is basically like my roadmap or my blueprint of what I'm going to do. So I've got my tech stack, my front end, my back end, and again, I'm not a developer at heart. Like I don't know how to write code very well, so this is something that I just had to rely on Gemini to do for me, and going back and forth, questioning and things like that. But and then I figured out what I want the application to look like. So Manus and Claude are both excellent at that, which I just showcased. But like in a few seconds, you can have you know a proof of concept really easy without having to have any technical knowledge. I mean, I just gave it a prompt with skill zone.
Right.
So that's another part of it. Like, what do you want the application to look and feel like? And then what's the like workflow? This is obviously super big. Like, what's the workflow that we're going to use? And then so on and so forth. So it doesn't always need to be this technical. You kind of will figure it out as you go. I know that a lot of people are very, like, one of the most common things I see on the different Discord channels is people are always complaining about how many credits vibe coding takes. Like, oh, the agent is being my credits, it's taking them, it's not efficient, whatever. And I would argue that agent's really not doing any of those things. I mean, sometimes, yeah, it can make mistakes and go in loops, but it's, again, goes right back to what prompt did you give it? Did you say, make me a web page for my, real estate business? Or did you give it something like this where you've already outlined, like, I want these features, I want to be able to change text, I want to be able to do these different things. That saves you so much time and so many credits on the front end.
Right.
Let's see what this is doing. So
Good.
that's blocking. And we'll say keep going. Okay.
So yeah, and I totally agree with you. I think like doing as much as you can before you get to the vibe coding tool is super helpful. And then one also like, okay, now you have an app with it's a huge code base. Let's say you want to make a change to one feature. Like, how do you make sure that it only changes that one feature and doesn't go off and make cause errors elsewhere in the app?
So I always am when it's something like that, if it's something that's going to be a major change, not like a UI, it's like a functionality change, I'm always telling the agent to read code and be strategic in how it makes changes. But the other part is I very rarely just tell the agent to just go and do that. I will ask the agent to investigate the area that I want to make a change in. So, like, for example, if I wanted to, and let me start this up. If I wanted to make a change in my CRM in regard to like merge tags within the email editor or the email templating function, there are like hundreds of different references to email and template throughout my CRM. So the agent may not, I mean, the agent is pretty good, but it may not know exactly what you're referencing. Like, and say, okay, I want you to add a merge tag for this field. In my email template system. It may add the merge tag to the back end, but it may not add the merge tag to the front end because it doesn't know that he wanted that. So if I'm working on like a very specific part of the application, I'm going to tell it investigate the unlayer email template functionality. I need to add this field. Let's talk about it. And it will not write any code. It'll just read code and then will come back and tell me, okay, this is what I found. This is how we're going to implement it. Okay, great. And then if it's a really technical thing, then I will ask it. I'll give it like a prompt like this. Let's see. Like this right here. And this prompt has been pretty much gold for me. I use it anytime I have something technical that I need to build. It creates a very extensive markdown file, and then it gives the agent something very solid to start following.
That's amazing. And are you using that prompt in Memex or you're using it outside of Memex and then coming back in?
Now I'm using it straight in Memex.
In Memex, yeah, because Memex has access to all the code.
Yeah. So, like, to give you an idea of like what that prompt generates, where's my finder? So, for example, like this, I was working on some like a linked authorization system for my marketing emails. So instead of having like a user having to log in, they get a pre-authenticated link that's good for 30 days. And that way I'm not looking for my users to like create a profile or log into something that they don't want to be a part of. So yeah, use that prompt, and Memex created this very detailed technical outline. So it went and looked at all of the different components that are already in the application and determined what was already completed, what it could reuse, and what was missing. Right. And it created all the tests that it needs to do step by step to make sure that all the APIs work as it's writing code, and how new session management is going to work and everything. So, I mean, this is like
So it generated over 1,000 lines of a plan, essentially. The truth end plans.
2,000 lines of code for this plan. And literally all I do is once I'm ready to roll, I just come in here and I'll copy the title of the MD, and then I'm in Memex and I'm saying like execute, be strategic, read code, um, ask questions if you're unsure.
That's amazing. And then that file is just in the app file or in the app like full.
Yeah, Memex creates the file and saves it in the project files, and then
Yep. Okay.
I'm just referencing it. Yep.
That's amazing. That alone, I think, is worth watching. That, like, if you watch to this point, I think that alone is gonna save you to have that plan. That's amazing. It's like basically like you just can't for like I think there's these things that are you need to do or like really helpful workflows to know, and then also like you just can't be lazy when vibe coding, and it's really easy to be lazy, I think, with vibe coding because it's right there, and it's like, oh, let me just ask it to do this, and then that's where people get stuck.
Right. Yeah, it's those little tips and tricks that if you don't have them, you can get frustrated really easily and then walk away.
Totally. Yeah. I wonder if there's going to be like if Memex or like some of these platforms are going to start building in these workflows almost to the platform itself to like force people to do that kind of thing.
I mean, I think so. Like there are others out there that are really focused on that task management functionality, like Data Button is one of them, like Tuck.
Mhm.
Um, and and there are a couple other ones that are focused on that kind of thing. Okay, so we had the basic dashboard. Let's see, it's interesting. Where are we at on this? Where's it happening? Okay, running on 2001. Let's create some additional components. Pipeline full speed. Um, but like things like Taskmaster, I mean, what's really nice about Memex is you can plug any MCP in. So you already have Claude Taskmaster, which is what a lot of people talk about and use. And that's a really robust and refined task management tool that can basically do that same MD functionality, but break it down even more granular.
Wait, so what's Claude Task? I actually don't know what that is. Yeah, how does that work?
So Claude Taskmaster is generally it's something that runs in your terminal. So you give it a task and it will have access to your code base, and then it will generate a bunch of MDs, like markdown files like we talked about, that have all these different subsections. So like every task will have maybe 10 mini tasks within it.
Yep.
And so it's very similar to the markdown that I just showed you, except there's an there's an agent that's managing the tasks for your agent. Whereas with like using Memex, right, it's just one agent it's reading, it's writing, it's reading, it's writing. So it's just another tool that you can plug into it.
Got it. Got it. Cool. Yeah, I'm checking it out right now. It looks great. I'm gonna have to use this. And that's where the MCP, I think, I mean, it's once you start using MCPs, it's like it's just a game changer. And to have these like additional services built in.
Yeah, it is a game changer. And there's so many different tools out there that you can use and play with, like especially when it comes to designing your UI and everything. And
Yeah.
I think someone can only be so creative. So why not rely on somebody that's already doing all the work?
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. So right now so you were able to go to the local host and like see what it had so far, but it's still coding at the same time. And like, well, then now it's not working because it's like building,
Yeah,
basically.
now it's building and it's doing its thing. So we're using Next.js. Um,
And something that's nice about Memex is it works with any like language, basically. So you don't have nice to be able to like just be agnostic about that.
yeah, yeah. And it will choose um generally the best option for what you want to do. But again, that all comes down to like what your initial prompt is.
Right.
Like if you tell it to build a website, but then you tell it after the fact that you also wanted to be able to edit functionality in that website, then that's something that you would need to add in after the fact. Whereas if you told it that in the beginning, it would already know, okay, I've got to choose a service for the front end. I've got to figure out how I'm going to store the user's data. And then it makes that's like a perfect example of how you could waste a bunch of credits or save a bunch of credits.
Right. And then also sometimes like there's certain features that like it would have built out the whole database structure differently if it knew ahead of time what you wanted, and that can be painful to go back and change and yeah, I mean it's the same as if you were coding with as a human, like the same problems exist, but um yeah.
And that's a super good point. Like the database is such a crucial piece to the whole thing. Um, I think what I had mentioned to you earlier was like a lot of this started just straight from my database schema, right? So before I even like as I was having the conversation and understanding what the application needed to do, I mean, you have to know how are fields going to talk to each other, what kind of relationships are you going to have? Are they many to many? Are they many to one? Is it one to one? And so, I mean, this database schema for the CRM is 14 pages, and these are just fields and tables.
This document that you have is kind of it's what you use for planning, but it's also what you use for almost the the guide to what the code is, kind of like this is what your application is in document form, essentially. Is that correct?
Uh,
How
it,
you
it's like in written form, yeah, like how somebody is going to navigate, like because that's again, it goes back to people get like discouraged, right? Because they're like, well, I'm not a super technical person. Like, I don't know how to describe this kind of thing. And that is the coolest part about all this is you don't have to have that technical vocabulary. You can talk to an LLM and you can tell it, hey, I want to build an application where the user does this, this, and this is how I envision myself clicking through this application. How do I build this? And
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't write all of this text. I had Gemini do it for me, but I was at least able to tell it, hey, I want to go here, I want to do this. And so then it's recommending like, okay, well, we need a log interaction button here and we need a new task button here and
Yep.
in just plain English, right? So a lot of this work is done for me.
Yeah. Yep. Cool. And I know you mentioned before that you like to use Gemini partially because of the context window is so big.
Yeah, because you can run like with a document like this with all these different pages. And unlike some of the other LLMs, like Gemini integrates directly with Google Sheets, so or Google Docs.
Right.
There's like a one-to-one integration there, and it can reference the data much easier.
So that's why you put it in Google Docs like this, and then Gemini can reference this entire document, basically.
Yeah, and it can create the document for me too.
Yep. And add to it, or add tabs or whatever, all sorts of things like that.
Yeah, exactly.
This is like, I think you're like you're like 5 years into the future right now, like the way people are gonna interact with these tools, I feel like.
I think that this is where everything's gonna go. Um, but it's gonna be you're not even gonna know that it's happening. Is
Right. Like Memex will do it all of it for you, for example, or
Memex will
something like that. Yeah.
it'll create that whole PRD.
You're basically like, okay, this is how it should be. I have to create these hacks right now because there's like this period of time before it's the tools are doing it for you, essentially.
Yeah, and I think honestly like we're so close to that. Like things are just as you mentioned, this space is so competitive right now. There's a new if you go on to Product Hunt, every day there's a new vibe coding app that does something a little bit different.
Yeah.
And it's just it's people just like intensely competing with one another to build the next vibe coding tool where you got to wonder like what's going to happen to these companies like Salesforce where to even talk to somebody you've got to spend $10,000 for their like base package. What
Right.
when I could just build it myself and if I didn't have to go through all this, I mean, can you imagine?
Right. Right. It's going to make it so much more accessible. And yeah, because there's so many times when I'm building now and it's like uh things that, let's say I'm doing like a Stripe integration, like it's still a little bit painful, but okay, I can knock it out. But there's like I
Yeah.
have to do some things. But there's just things like that where it's going to be one message for sure. Yeah. Okay, let's see. So let's see what we have here so far.
Okay, so it built this basic CRM. It's got a power dialer, so I guess we can call these numbers and there's not really a lot of
Could like I guess we could integrate with like Twilio or something to actually.
area or Ring Central. Um, you got your call queue here, so that's actually kind of a cool.
Yeah, like that.
Actually. That's a good idea. I guess your pipeline pulse, so it's kind of like a Kanban, so you can drag and drop fields to different places. Battle station. So what is the battle station? Your command center for sales domination. You've been crushing your daily targets, keep the momentum. Okay.
This is cool. Honestly, like the design is quite good too.
Yeah. No, it is. It is nice. And you got your leaderboard. I mean, this is kind of cool. This is competitive. Lead arsenal. It looks like it's not built yet, but I imagine this would be where your table of leads would be, and
Yep.
and coming soon. So let's look and just see what it did last. And let's go here and let's look at the project overview. So let's see what it interpreted there to be.
Yep.
And so this is kind of like a version of the PRD I just showed you, but this is like a Memex version for that basic prompt that we gave it.
Yep.
Um, and the other thing I would mention is when we did that initial prompt, had I ended that prompt with "Don't write code, let's talk about it," we could have had a very extensive conversation before we ever wrote one line of code. To
Right.
really dial this down, and then I could say, okay, update the PRD to reflect,
Right.
and now we've got a much more extensive application built on the first turn.
And do you typically do that? And I saw if you scroll up, there's like a chat mode and a build mode. Like, do you just typically keep it in build, but just tell it not to build, basically?
Yeah, yeah, because chat mode can't actually read project files. It can
Okay.
do external research for you, but it can't read the context of your of your app, which I guess for the sake of this would be fine.
Right.
Uh,
The first message, but because there's nothing to read. Yeah.
yeah, but once you have an actual application, I mean, I repeatedly ask it to reference code and base its response on fact, not assumption, and that forces the agent to actually go and read that code and understand.
That's a really good prompt, like based on fact, not assumption. Yeah.
Yeah, the agent, as you know, loves to assume. Assume all day long. Um, okay, so Next.js with React and Express API, database, Postgres. Okay, Tailwind. And then see, it even mentioned, so see, like this is a super cool thing to think about that most people don't think about is how do you set the application up to be deployed on whatever service you want it to be deployed on?
Right.
And, that's a nice thing to
Yeah. Yeah.
have.
That part is really cool. Actually interesting. Yeah, I was building in Cursor the other day, and like actually with the Stripe integration thing I was talking about, and it created a markdown file actually of like this is what you need to do to finalize the deployment of that feature. So I guess that's kind of the way to go with these things, and yeah.
Yeah, and there's so many things that you don't even think about that. Fortunately, everything can be fixed. That's another nice thing.
Yeah.
Believe it, if you do royally screw it up, it can be salvaged for sure.
And then so maybe I'm curious, like let's say we wanted to build that, like okay, there was that tab that wasn't built out, and let's say we wanted to like chat with it basically to like talk about it first? Maybe let's do a quick example of that. I'd be curious what that looks like.
Yeah. So, just for Mimic's sake, one of the things I always pay attention to is this dial down here, which is basically just telling me how much of the context window I've used. Um, because you want to keep the agent's memory fresh. So this is a good way to do that.
Mhm.
And we've still got plenty of there. So in this case, I would probably reference something like, well, I would just reference time commands. Or what do we do? We want to work on lead arsenal. So
Sure. Yeah.
let's continue developing lead arsenal. Tell me about this page and let me know what you envision building here. Don't write code, respond.
Sweet. And at what percentage with Memex do you typically like summarize and start a new chat with the context window?
Um, it depends on what I'm working on. If it's within the same like scope of what I'm already working on, if it's like a feature of something I've just built, then I'll try to keep it in the same chat. If I'm moving on to a different piece or something that's a much larger um component, then I'll start a new chat. But if you follow like my process, which is creating these markdown files, you can reference these markdown files because like as I mentioned, I'm asking the agent as it's implementing this, I'm
Right.
asking the agent to update its progress within the markdown file. So the agent can go back in another chat and it can reference this markdown file and it can say, okay, I built this, and this.
And is that something that's in the system prompt settings, or you're asking it like when you ask it to write the code, you'll say, "Hey, also update the markdown file."
Um, I'm telling it to update like in that's like the initial prompt when I ask it to
Write the code. Got
uh,
it.
yeah, yeah. So I don't know. I think Claude might be having some problems today or something like that.
That yeah, that happens sometimes. We can give it a second and see if it works. But this is pretty cool. I'm like some like the one of the biggest things for me with Memex is just like how far it gets with one prompt really impresses me. Just because of how much it will do. And kind of use be like agentic.
Yeah, no, it is pretty cool that how much it can do, and like I said, I think that's improving every day.
Yeah.
Sure.
Claude might have an issue right now.
Let's just get back in it real quick and see what we got.
And then yeah, like we talked about deploying Memex is gonna like by default have everything on your local computer, and then you can, if you want, you can sync that with GitHub or um, there's ways to get that in the cloud as well. But by default, it's in the local machine.
Right. So lead arsenal. Let's start working on lead arsenal. Tell me what you envisioned with this page. Don't write code, read code, respond only. Yeah, the talk to text thing has been such a game changer. I'm started using it on everything now.
That's amazing. Yeah, I have Whisper Flow on my computer, and I do use it sometimes. And um yeah, it's I need to remember. Sometimes I just need to remember to use it more.
Yeah, I think like previously I didn't use it very much because without any type of like AI dictation, it's how you speak and like what you actually want to tell the agent are different things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so looking at the current code base, and this is kind of interesting. So you can see like this grayed out section, this is the agent thinking,
Mm-hmm.
and this white section is like the actual response to us.
Yep.
So key features I had in mind. So lead intelligence hub. Okay, got it. So we can demo this prompt right here actually if you want, just to see
Perfect.
kind of what this workflow looks like. So great. We can get rid of. And then this is like a really important thing because sometimes the agent will try to write that 2000 line markdown file in one like go. So
Uh,
adding this like warning here, it's basically breaking that big markdown file into something
right.
manageable.
Got it. And so you've built you spent a lot of effort building this internal tool, CRM, which we can show everyone in a minute. Is your main goal with vibe coding right now to support your existing business, or do you have other like aspirations and what you want to create or or use your skill set here?
Yeah, I mean, I built this just strictly for my own business because, again, the cost of hiring a developer to do it, and then there being that huge lost in translation issue where people don't know your business like you know your business, right? They don't know your needs like you know your needs. So that vibe coding has made that, um, a non-issue anymore because I can just build it myself through plain language. Um, I have had people ask me if I was, would sell the software or whatever. And I don't know, with the way that the direction things are going, I mean, everybody's going to have custom software. So I don't know if it's worth my time to appease to anybody else but myself. Um,
Right.
as far as like helping people build their stuff, I'm happy to do it. I'm happy to do it. Anybody can call me or email me or we can, screen share and I'm happy to help them out. But as far as this particular piece of software, it's such a niche industry. I'm gonna continue to build it like for our specific business and
Yeah.
see where it goes from there. What about you?
Yeah, I've been spending, I guess, a lot of time focusing on learning, and a big part of my job is, sharing what I learned with people. So like I build for that, but I also have different ideas. Like one idea I'm building out now is kind of like a AI chef, like a cooking assistant type thing. The reason I'm building that out is a couple reasons. Like one, found myself using, I really love to cook, and I found myself using like a Claude project a lot, for, like a chef, and it was giving me really good advice. So I wanted to like build out a more kind of a product around that had some more features that would be helpful. And I also wanted to learn how to build an iOS app with vibe coding. And it's funny, just like how you were saying before, like, I have no idea how to do that. I've never done that before, but I just asked AI how to do it. And it was like, oh, okay, you have a React app, a Vite React app with your coding language. There's something called Capacitor, which just like allows you to wrap it and, uh, deploy it to the App Store.
That's
And
cool.
and it actually isn't really cool. I mean, I can't fully vouch yet, like how well, like it seems to work. And I did research, and like there are a ton of other apps that do use this capacitor. Um, and I was able to get it at least through Xcode, like testing it on my phone. Um, so it seems to work. But yeah, like I think just like building out these little like side projects, and maybe one of them will become something cool or not. But at the very least, I can just use it as a way to learn and share what I learn with people.
Yeah, that's awesome. I had played around with like some different apps. I think if I was to build anything outside of what I'm building for my business, I'd build some type of AI voice assistant. I just haven't found one that really does everything that I want it to do.
Mm.
And
But
I've kind of fallen in love with like the idea of just pushing a button and being able to talk and it'll just you know, do what I want. So if I could bring that functionality to my phone, because Siri, it really isn't that great. It's terrible at dictation.
yeah,
I would,
it's really interesting. I feel like there should be like a voice dictation app that connects to MCPs so that you can like do stuff uh with that. Yeah.
yeah. So like 11 Labs just came out with one yesterday and it's free. You can check it out. I think it's called 11 Pi or something like that. You can just sign in, and you can actually connect a bunch of different MCPs to it, like your Google Calendar, that kind of thing. And that's basically what it is. It's just a voice agent that will accomplish a bunch of different tasks for you, depending on what MCP you connect to it. But it's like an alpha stage right now. It's very, very, very.
Got it. Got it. That's crazy. I thought I just came up with a cool idea. But it's
No, but see, that's the thing here. Like you got to remember is anybody can create software now,
yeah.
right? And and the other thing, like a lot of people don't think about, is like think about how large the marketplace is. Like, what if you just only captured like 0.5% or 0.1%? That's enough subscriptions right there to do whatever it is you want to do.
Absolutely. And that's how I think about it too. And even with like I don't know if I'm gonna end up like commercializing this cooking assistant that I built, but like if I did, right, if you get 1,000 subscribers, like you've got a really solid personal business. Like you don't have to do anything beyond that anymore.
Right. Let's see. Oh, no.
Yeah, and I mean, I still, I mean, the voice assistant MCP, like, right, just because 11 Labs just launched one doesn't mean that if you're listening, you can't launch it too and make a successful business out of it.
Exactly. So Memex stored this in like its hidden files for some reason, but here's the um here's the markdown file that it created for that next phase of development. So this is how many lines? I don't know, 900 lines, something like that. 866. And so it's given us, or it's given the agent um everything: the design philosophy, the purpose, the high level architecture, the current code analysis, the current component structure, state management, navigation, and then the actual components that's going to build out the stages. Okay, so this is cool. So
Well,
now we can uh, just reference this. I'm going to actually move this to the main project folder. And what we can do here, see, so like we're kind of running low on context, so we'll summarize this.
yep.
I'm running low, but I like to start an implementation in the same chat and end it in the same chat. So
Yep. Got it.
agent's gonna summarize everything that we did and talked about so far.
And then I assume when you're really building, you would like, do you read those? Like, do you read the whole Markdown file and make changes to it, or typically keep it as is?
So um, I will, I would generally have probably like a more back and forth conversation than what I just had right here.
Yep.
I
Mhm.
probably asked it one thing and then I agreed with it.
Got
And
it.
in the real world, I would ask it more questions to be more specific. And I would probably include things like specific database fields and make sure that the agent includes those things. But very rarely would I look through the whole thing. I would just um I would talk through it with the agent, and then I would spot
Yeah.
check and make sure, like I could, control F and make sure that X, Y, and Z is in there.
Got it. Got it. Cool. That makes sense.
So please implement. Be strategic. Take your time, one step at a time. Update the markdown file as you go.
Cool.
So now it's taken all the context from what we've talked about. It knows what it's built already and
Hmm.
what the project has. And now it's going to look at this lead arsenal technical plan.
Yep. Cool.
So it's found the parent folder and it's found the plan. And
Yeah. And we can see because it's MCP, it's able to automatically look at the database tables and stuff.
yeah, so here it basically said it automatically recognized neon, and it knew that we had a neon MCP. So it's created a new project for this call for the call flow. Project idea is Purple Dream, and it's running the SQL commands. So I think now that we're actually building something that has some meat behind it, like where users actually need to input data, it's decided it's going to build out the database schema.
Got it. Got it.
Sample data in there, which is super important because, um, sometimes people will build out like a UI and then they'll say, and just fill it with dummy data. And that's fine because it looks good, but to go and replace all that data, that also costs credits. So any way that you can like systematically build out your project in a real world manner, that's gonna be the most efficient way, the most cost effective way to get your project going.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. So maybe while it's finishing building this out, do you want to show people the actual CRM that you created? Maybe just a high level kind of overview of just so people can see like what's possible with Memex and vibe coding.
Yeah, so this is No Pilot. This is the CRM I've been working on for my mortgage brokerage, and this helps us facilitate the transaction of debt from one bank to another bank. That was weird. Yeah, we built out a bunch of functionality in here, like lead management, being able to import leads and have AI combine the skip trace data and the property data into one source. All of our like task management throughout the entire application. I built an email interface so I don't actually have to leave here to go check my emails. I can any email that I want, I can compose and reply. So that way everything is right in here and the CRM always knows what's going on. So like if somebody replies about a particular deal, I can see the CRM can know, where to place that email.
Is that like an API to your email server?
Yeah.
Or?
Yeah. So I'm using Google OAuth for all of this. So I basically have a local auth here, which is just my personal email.
Yeah,
And then I have one that is also for the admin drive
got it.
for all of our data. So one thing that's unique about this application that I have not done in the past is instead of, like Neon database, SQL databases are great, but they're terrible at storage. And so you have to integrate these like third-party storage services. And there's like a whole layer there of complexity and making sure that images preview properly and documents preview properly and things can be easily sent and retrieved. And, there's just a lot. Like even like Supabase makes it easier, I guess, with like the Supabase buckets. But to get the CRM to do that, to talk to all that can be difficult, I guess. So
Right.
I thought, I wonder if I could use Google Drive as my document database because people are already sharing documents with me via Google Drive all day long, and I'm sharing documents with them via Google Drive. So why not let Google Drive be my actual like data storage database?
Yep.
And
Yeah.
so I set this up here, and then I have just a basic folder structure that the agent knows to create every time that we're gonna create a new file in the system, and so it creates a file for every note that comes through.
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, and then like this is another kind of unique thing, I guess. Not a lot of people do, but I'm really like big on making sure that the design works before I go too far. So this is kind of like a swatch. Like if you were going to build a house and you wanted to see like what kind of tile you're going to use and the colors and everything like that, that's what this is. So this is a page for the agent to go to and always reference the styling in like a visual way. So like we have all our primary colors and our secondary colors and our semantic colors and our buttons and our cards and our tabs
Yeah.
and all that. So that's another like little tip right there to help you.
That's like a style guide for your app, basically that you'll have a page built out for, essentially.
Exactly. So, to kind of go through like the workflow that showcases the features. So this is like your general CRM. This is like the lead function. So we would have thousands of leads in here that we're going to start calling through. And let me go to one that has an address. All the contact info, your communications, your tasks, your documents, and then a little AI summary of the deal itself and the technical raw data that we're inputting. When you're ready to convert this deal, you're on the phone with somebody. So you're filling out this form, you're filling out this basic information, filling out this information, filling out this information, and then you're submitting. And so when you're doing this, when you click submit, you're creating your note record, which is like the thing that's being bought and sold, your property record, which is what is securing the note, and then all the entities, which are like the borrower, the co-borrower, the seller, the broker, all that kind of thing. So you get taken to a page like this, and this is the actual like CRM workflow, I guess, is the transaction management function. So you have your standard overview that shows all your tasks and summary and those kinds of things. And then you've got your raw data here, which is all the different raw data fields that you would extract from the node. And then you've got your due diligence functionality. So due diligence is like a living, breathing to-do list for every single file of all the things that we need. These are all the core documents we need, the workflows that we need to go through to make sure we verify stuff. So data gap analysis, loan term data completeness, all that kind of thing. So if we have deals that we're missing things, like we can create a needs list, we can send the needs list, we can select from any recipient that we have in our system, and then we can generate this nice little email that says, please send it. And then it auto injects my signature in there as well, or whoever the logged in user is. So
Yeah.
you can send that off. You can create a to-do, so you can create a task for anything that you want to do there. You move through node analysis. So this is all the verifying all of these fields and dates make sense. Gap analysis, making sure the financial information makes sense, making sure the payments calculate properly, determining what the current loan balance is, the escrow analysis, and then summaries for the different deals. Same thing for the property.
Yep.
Same thing for the borrower, and so forth. And then when we get to marketing, so I showed you earlier, but we built out screwed. I was switched to
Oh, went back. I guess it finished the feature. Oh, it's
So this would be an example of like something you want to put in the rules, right? You would say, I only want you to run call flow CRM on 3001.
yeah. So it doesn't just decide to kill the existing one. Yeah.
Not a big deal though. Let's see. Yeah, so it said, let me kill the existing ones and restart.
I'm surprised it didn't. Usually, I'm surprised it wasn't like, oh, let me just use a different one instead of like, you know.
Yeah, I know. How very rude of this. It wasn't happy that we were showcasing a different app.
Yeah. No.
Um, so
When you're okay, so another question, when you're using Memex, like, do you watch it as it's going to make sure it's doing what you want, or do you just kind of let it do its thing and come back 10 minutes, 5 or 10 minutes later?
so that question, it depends entirely on the prompt that I've given it.
Okay.
If I've given it, if I've talked through this plan and we've created a detailed markdown file and there are like clear stages and steps and things that it needs to check off as it goes, I'll let it just run.
Yeah.
Like last night, I left my computer open at whatever, like 11:30 p.m. And when I woke up this morning, the next feature was built out for me, and it was that 8,000 line of code thing, and it's normally like, I don't know, 90% ish success rate on
Yep.
stuff.
That's amazing. Like the work is done before, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like that's the thing. The agent has to have something. It has to have some kind of guideline to follow, and if you can give it that, and I would say the other part would be the testing functionality. So like the agent, you could have a great guide, you could have a great blueprint for what you want it to do, and the agent's going to build and build and build, and it's going to build it exactly how you want it. But if you don't tell it, hey, you need to test the page load after every step, or you need to incorporate testing at every step, the agent will build what you want, but it won't debug it. So, or it might not always debug it. So, and then you wake up in the morning and like, oh my gosh, I built this huge thing, but I can't use it because it's full of issues. If you
Yeah.
tell the agent to build the testing in, which is part of that prompt that we've used, I don't know where it went. One of those line items is ensure that you test as you go. And
Got it.
that solves so many problems down the road.
Got it. Super helpful. There's so many, I feel like, little prompting tips in this video that if you are going to be super valuable.
Yeah. And I think Memex just released this HT-MCP, which I think has been super helpful for the agent to be able to um, manage like a command line on your computer and also open browsers and navigate them. That's something that I've noticed since like a pretty recent update where now browser windows are opening by themselves and it's actually verifying to make sure that the code is loading properly.
Got it. Got it. That's awesome. That's cool. Yeah, like I always like have this thought whenever I'm testing a feature that like in the future there's no reason the AI can't test the feature fully and like see if it works.
Right.
So what is I like what's the purpose of like pausing and having it keep going? Is that just if you notice it's getting stuck kind of?
Yeah, like so I'm looking at this drop down right here and I'm seeing, okay, what is it what was it doing here? So it's saying let's kill the existing one. Okay, well it sat there for 3 minutes trying to kill something, but it's clearly already killed because it kicked
Right.
us out of our thing.
Yep.
So it was just sitting there and I stopped it and just told it, hey, keep going. So now it's
Now it continues. Got it. Cool. Yeah, I noticed that before in Memex as well sometimes like just it was go like if it's just going but nothing's happening, usually just stopping it and asking it to continue solves that.
yeah. And that same like prompt, the same hard prompt that we use to create the markdown files at the end where it says like build this out incrementally. That's another reason why I put, take it step by step and follow that markdown file because that will help it not take these like huge bites. It'll instead
Right.
take small bites and build piece by piece. Um, but I don't know if you saw just right before the video started, a new update came out from Memex, and one of the features on there was you could run multiple Memex instances at the same time.
No, I didn't see that.
So I
Super
wonder
interesting.
what that will be like.
So like multiple agents, I guess, at the same time, kind of.
Yeah, you could have like, I mean, I guess I guess you could even connect them together via MCP, right? So you could create an MCP server for this one, and they can talk to each other so that they don't override each other.
Right.
So it looks like so we completed out lead arsenal, and I know that we got a database, so let's see what it did. It followed our markdown. It created the database schema. It added 10 realistic sample leads, which I don't see the sample leads here. So we'll figure that out, but we can at least look and see if it actually did do that. Um, okay, did add 10 sample leads. So there's something that is not pulling in here. We could see if it is even trying to, yeah, okay. So,
And that's something for people to know, like it's always helpful to look into the console logs if there's something's not working.
yeah, and that is another tip too, is, the agent can definitely debug, but sometimes you can save yourself a bunch of pain and heartache and time by just looking at what the actual logs say and then copying those logs directly to the agent.
Yep. Yeah.
Because those logs tell the agent exactly where the issue is happening. Well, okay, so I think the server stopped running. So what we can do is we can tell it start servers. And then the next thing we'll do is we will ask it about the why the sample data is not showing up.
Cool. That can be maybe the last like
Yeah.
thing that we have solved. Yeah.
Okay, so now there we go. So it fixed the issue. So now it's got to fake the 10 stamp.
Okay.
And let me close this right here. Cool. I mean, this is really cool. This is really creative.
Yeah. So the idea of the lead arsenal is it's basically like what is it? Like just like the page to see all of the leads and where they are and filter and things like that.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
What it looks like. Yeah.
That's that's pretty much it. Yeah. I mean, the UI is nice. So yeah, that's what is this app? What did it call this app again? That is Call Flow CRM.
Allflow CRM and literally we used like 3 prompts to get it like this.
Yeah.
which is crazy. Yeah.
And
Um
I think had we had like a more robust prompt in the beginning and we spent some more time um actually like going through that workflow, then we could build something pretty incredible. And maybe that's worth doing another video on, is just actually walking through that workflow and seeing what you can get in an hour's time.
yeah. Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, maybe yeah, we can do this again and focus on spending more of the time just in the beginning and right, seeing what that gets us at the end. I guess, Don, is there anything you want to share about where people can find you or anything you want people to know or anything at all that you want to share with the audience?
Yeah, y'all can find me on LinkedIn. That's pretty much the only social media I have right now. But if anybody, wants any advice on how to plan their application, or, just needs some general assistance, I'm happy to do this. I mean, I do it just to build software for my own business. And I've definitely learned a lot of things. I've learned a lot of things that you shouldn't do. So I can definitely save some people some heartache on that front. But yeah, reach out if you need anything, and I'm happy to help out where I can.
Cool. Awesome. And I'll put that link to your LinkedIn in the description as well.
Thank you.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.